let's discuss about the concept of client, which is one of the major key concept to understand the basic of SAP basis. So today's topic would be client concept, and we will understand the concept of client with the analogy of a building with multiple departments, an office building with multiple departments. So, in the context of SAP system, the client does not refer to an end user device or a customer, but rather to a logical separation of data within the SAP system. So, I would emphasize more on the keyword logical separation because that separation is nowhere in the physical structure, not on the actual mounts or in the actual folders or directories, but it is completely logical to the software. So, let's break down the concept of a SAP client using the simple analogy. So let's imagine if there is a office building with different departments. Suppose this is an office building with different departments on different floors like HR, logistics, finance. Now, all these different departments, each one of it has a specific set of tasks and responsibility. And this each department can be considered as SAP client. And in SAP, the client is numbered with a three digit. So suppose we are numbering it as 100, 200, 300, and this entire office building can be considered as a SAP system, which is represented by a three digit SID or a system identifier. So now it is clear what are SAP clients and how this logical separations work. Now we will consider about the data which resides in this client. So there are two types of data basically in client. One is client dependent and one is cross client data. So what are client dependent data? Suppose this each and every department, HR, logistics and finance, has its own set of data, its own set of roles and responsibilities, which is completely different from others. Like an HR might be having some roles and responsibilities or some data or processes which is only specific to this HR department and not to the logistics department of the same building. And that's where this entire floor operates on that business process. This entire floor operates on that business process of logistics and similar with finance. So now this specific data which is specific to this processes are client dependent data. That is, that data would only get changed inside this client if we are trying to make any changes to the data. It is not going to affect any other data in other clients. But when we consider client cross client data or client independent data, in such situation what happens, The client, the data which you make the changes here are also getting going to get change in the other department, also going to get change in the other department. So to understand it, we can think of some shared processes or some shared area which is common to both. So this HR, logistics, and finance are different floors of a building, but they share the same lobby, or this share the same escalators or lift, whatever you want to call it. So, or take it an example that the three of the departments share the same cafeteria. So we can consider that this kind of data which is shared among all the three departments as a common data. That is, if some person from this department tries to make a change in this common area, obviously that change would also reflect for the other department. Similarly are the cross client data. So whenever you make the changes for a data which is cross client, that data would get changed in other clients also. So that is about the data. Now we will talk about security for this specific clients. Now this specific client or this specific department, if you consider HR department, logistic and finance, which are different floors of a office building, so this each floor has its own gate, right? And this every gate has its own access, which is provided only to sorry set of few users which belong to this department. So this set of user will have access to enter into floor 3 of the building and access only to the HR data. And these users will only have the access to make changes in this specific client. It will not have access to make the changes in other clients. So they would only be able to make changes in this client. Similarly, for in SAP, we have a restriction where users are client dependent. So users roles and responsibility are client dependent, so that we can control the access at the client level, and a specific set of user can only control it. Now there can be users which belong to multiple departments. Like you are an IT admin, you should have access to all the floors to fix issues. So you would be having specific roles and responsibilities in all this client with your accesses to all this, so you can make the changes in all these clients. So those are called cross client users. But that doesn't mean that if you change your credentials in client 100, like you change your credential to access the gate of HR department, then that credential will also get changed for logistics and finance. So that's where the encapsulation or the restriction comes in, that whatever you make the change in one client, that would not get reflected in other client, be it your credentials or be it your access roles and authorizations. So everything is client dependent in terms of access. Now, this whole SAP system or this whole building, office building, has to be managed by an administrator, because the admin is the one who needs to take care and make sure that the complete building is secured. The complete building has all kind of facilities with utilities to keep it performing well, and that's where basis consultants come into picture, or SAP technical consultants come into picture, because basis consultant or technical consultants are the system admin are responsible for managing the entire SID or the entire SAP system. So that's about the client concept with a very simple analogy of an office building with different departments where each department can be considered as a different client of an SAP system and the entire building can be considered as a SAP system. So stay tuned for more upcoming videos. If you want to get notified, then there is a bell icon. You would see there is a bell icon in YouTube. Click on this bell icon and so that when there is a new video post you get notified. Thank you. And if you need any specific videos which needs to be posted for a specific tutorial, always you can comment and